Yeah. Oh, there we go. That's weird. Oh, y'all. Top of the day, beautiful people. Hold on, I pull this together. See y'all live and ready to go. Yeah. Today is gonna be hold on. Let me bring them on first. Live. Okay. Yes. All right. Let me plug this extra little light in real quick. Yeah. Okay, beautiful people. Could have seen myself. Hold on. I'm adjusting this. Hold on. So I don't know why that's so low today. See if I can bring it up a little bit higher with my radiance book. It just looks weird. Extra low. Might be better. Okay. All right, beautiful people. Happy Saturday. I'm gonna leave that right there. Because I'm certain we ain't gonna get to the field guide to the spirit world today. Happy Saturday. Y'all, I've been up. Well, I've been up for a little bit, but I went to bed after 3. Going through this stuff, because now I'm intrigued because I guess we really need to gotta set the record straight on a few things. And I made myself some notes so I wouldn't leave anything out. And so I'm gonna have to go through a couple of these things. But first, y'all, today it is Saturday, December the 24th, day 296 of year 4. Reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1,315. Remember, those are the days that we have been present here, with the exception of the Sabbath, being diligent, just searching through all things to find truth, right? So today, I'm not even sure if we're going to get to any of the book of Apollo. I just want to make a couple comparisons. Look at a couple of things. Some people bring out some good points. So I'm kind of go over what I have up to this point, right? So that's going to be it. We're probably not even going to get to the book of Apollo. I'm certain of it because I'm going to have to get off of here in about an hour. All right. So, Father, we thank you for the spirit of tenacity, right? Okay. So since I released what we'll call it the alleged John LANT plates now, right? I say that only because some people don't believe, and I'm still searching through, right? But let me like I said, I was late to the chat yesterday that a lot of people here are a part of, right? And I forgot to say here about it. Let me go back first. I'm getting ahead of myself. Hold on. Tabitha, Grand Rising, sis. Nazarene is singing Supreme Risings. Natsari Yahoo Shalom, family. Vinette, greetings. Dawn, hey sis, peace, love, and light, homies. Auntie Belinda Brown, blissful rising. Shalom. Kendra, shalom, sis. Dawn, I just said hey to Dawn. Prince, shalom. Avia, shalom. Elijah, 7. Shalom, shalom. Oh, what didn't happen? Nene, shalom. Oh, snap. What did I do? I can't even see y'all. Oh, snap. What happened? Y'all can't see y'all. What? Hold on. Facebook, I got y'all. No. What did I do? Oh. Can y'all see me? Oh, you know what? I don't know what's going on with this. The whole thing just went out. Then it came back. Okay. Okay. You can see me. Okay. I don't know what happened. I was scrolling in the chat, then the whole chat disappeared and the screen just like went over. Okay. Maybe I hit something. Okay. All right. I'm gonna be careful. All right. Set apart Ema, Grand Rising, Hana, Grand Rising. Jamil, shalom. Look, girl, when you showed me your calculation, when I saw the fractions, I'm like, oh, they should go with the fractions. I don't know what she's saying. No, but that took some discipline to sit down there and do that and write that out like that. So, sis, I see why you a teacher, like you a the real teacher in real life in the system. I see why. I gotta go back and reread what you said. Because I gotta process everything. All right. Fritz, shalom, shalom. Gloria, hi. All right, y'all. Okay. All right. And everybody else hanging out in the background. Top of the day to you. Okay. So first, let's set the record straight from the last day we were here, right? Which would have been Thursday's video on what was going on in the chat. So there was a conversation going on in the chat between Shebrew and Elijah, right? They were not talking about Owaspi. They were talking about Sun Rays of Radiance, not the Radiance book that we just got. Like, I'm actually, remember I told you, everybody, you email the Elois and they'll send you the new updated version of Radiance. Not this, not Owaspi, but it's in the same type of binder, same color, same size and everything as this, but it has Radiance right there and Radiance on the side. They weren't talking about that. They were talking about the PDF that Shebrew had come across, and it was called Sun Rays of Radiance. They emailed the Elois, the printers of the Big Blue Owaspi, the Elois edition, and the Big Blue Radiance edition of what they sent to see if they could get a printed hardbound version of the Sun Rays of Radiance. Apparently, allegedly, somebody else has created the Sun Rays of Radiance, and they created it, they put it in PDF format, and they made it available online. So Shebrew came across that thinking it may be a part of the whole Radiance and the Elois, but they said it is not. Somebody else did that, and they seemed pretty upset about it. Right? So we couldn't understand why they would be upset about it. At least that was the indication that Shebrew and I believe Elijah got. I believe it was the both of them that had emailed them. And so they couldn't understand why they was getting mad. And I couldn't understand why they was getting mad. So when I saw that, I was going through the comments, and I'm not gonna say we got off, but we started talking about that a little bit. Some people must have thought we were talking about the printing of Owaspy. We were not talking about Owaspy at all during that whole nosy conversation where I was being nosy in the chat. Okay, what'd you say? Like, what? Why would they be upset? We weren't talking about Owaspy. It was a sun rays of radiance that allegedly somebody else had created and they put out. But it looks like the work of the Elois. We don't know. We don't really know what's going on with that. And even when I got it and I skimmed through it, it seemed to me, I was like, oh, this might be like the precursor to radiance, right? Apparently, I was wrong. Yeah, Elijah said that seems to be the case about the sun rays book, right? And we don't have that in any kind of printed version. It's only the PDF. And when you open it, matter of fact, I got it right here. My books. Maybe that was sun rays. Did I put it in here? Because I bought this. I got this downloaded up here. Oh, I think it's on my phone thing. Hold on. Can I open up my books? Books, yes. Okay. Right. By Robert Bayer. This one. And it says the Lois on it, right? Which was why we couldn't understand why they got so upset about it. Somebody made a good point. They said, what if this was not actually supposed to get out? But somebody put it in my own words. What if this, because it says Elois, right? I mean, who would be so vicious to make a book and put a whole group of people's name on it? But it seems like it's good stuff in here, right? So maybe, hold on, after they're trying to go to the first page. So maybe it's over 1,000 pages too. Okay, so maybe, right? Sun rays of radiance, the Elois. Is there another Elois group? But they said this is not their work. Now, somebody made a comment that what if this actually was their work, but they never wanted it leaked, but somehow it got leaked, which is probably why they got upset about it and touchy when Elijah and Shebrew asked about it, see if we could get it bound in a hardback so we all can order a copy of it, right? I was like, that it's possible that could have happened. But anyway, the Lois, the one who did the Owaspy and just sent us this ratings, they're not claiming this work, right? So that's just to bring a little bit of clarity. There is a sun rays of radiance, radiance, and realms of radiance. They all can be found here. Thanks, Jamia. So if you go to that link, and all of those will, I will assume they're by Robert Bayer. Okay, yeah, I remember that link you mentioned the other day too. So if y'all want to save that link, okay. So I hope that clears up that from the chat. Right now, let's get to John LANT, the we'll call it, no, not alleged, so-called, right? So-called. Some people call it the so-called John LANT sheets. I don't necessarily take issue with it, right? Because I'm still in the fact-finding stages. Now, okay, where do I start? Okay, so every edition of Owaspy that has ever been printed, right? That it has always started like the very first version, which was the 18. And here's what kind of confused me a little bit. Maybe y'all can help me out. The 1882 edition is technically the first version, and that comes from what would have been the original 1881 edition, which was the John LANT plates. But the John LANT plates never got printed, right? Just remember that. John LANT plates, 1881. Very, very first edition, original manuscript. Shayla, hey girl, hey. Never got printed. In its distribution form where it was released to the world, right? John Newbro took the original, let me get this. John Newbro took the original manuscript. He took it to his friend, John Lant. John Lant had a printing press, right? The printing press was located in New York at the time of the printing of this, right? He gave it, dude, can you print this for me? Yeah, you're my dude. Yeah, I get this printed for you. Boom, right? This is the original. This will be John Lant. This is a representation of John Lant, right? Because I was getting confused on a lot of little things. And listening to the chat, some of the things that Cosmon was saying, right? So I kind of made myself some notes, and as I started making my notes, everything that Cosmon was saying in the chat, I found it kind of like almost verbatim on the Angel Fire website, what he was saying, and I'm gonna read that to y'all, right? So if anybody that's been studying it for some of these pieces, if you have something or if you've been made aware of something that we don't have yet that you think might be beneficial, if you want to share it with us, by all means, please share it with us. I give you credit that you found it. I don't really care. We're just trying to find out the truth, right? Okay. So this is the original, 1881, but never got printed. Never, I mean, it got printed John Lant to be distributed, but John Lant's friend, John Newbro, comes back. Yo, man, you know what? Go ahead and scratch what I said. I don't want you to print it. I've made other plans. Give it back. John Lant was like, well, okay, here you go. He gave it back. But by the time John Newbro came back to John Lant had already made the plates, right? He got a printing press. I even spent time yesterday looking up a printing press, what back then, right? How it was created, the type of printing press that John Lant would have had there in New York, right? Could have been one of two, right? Yeah, one of two. They call it, I think it's the Gutenberg. It would have been like the Gutenberg, but then I believe it was Henry Ford also designed one. So it had to been one of the two. I think it's Henry Ford. Don't quote me, but Ford I know is the last name, is either the Gutenberg or the Ford printing press, right? Thinking about what it would take to actually print how it first came out. So it would have been, now these would not be, I think I mentioned the other day, the John Lant plates, the actual original plates would not have been pieces of paper, right? They would have been the metal or the copper plates that were used to press the papyrus or the paper in order to actually get the paper, right? He gave the paper, the manuscript, back to John Newbro, but the plates belonged to him. The printing press, the machine, all that stuff belonged to him. It had already been formulated to print out his stuff. He did not give that to John Newbro, right? That's his equipment. So, but it also says that as he did, hold on, so somebody mentioned that. That's not here. Printing press. It's man. Yeah. Shop. First edition during. Oh, here you go. He took proof prints. Proof prints would actually be the paper, actual paper from the plates, right? So the proof prints, as he formulated the plates, he created with each page that went under the plates, the press on it, he made a proof sheet, a proof print of it, right? So he would have had his own, even he gave John Newbro back his originals that he gave to him, but his proof sheets from his plates, he kept, that all belonged to him, right? The paper that was used, all of that stuff, right? He kept, it said proof prints of each, he took proof prints of each plate as they were made and saved them away, right? But I'm gonna give y'all a link to this. Matter of fact, Jamia, hold on. That's what I meant to do. Do I still have this up? Well, I think this is it. Yep, this is it. Okay, I got it. I'm gonna post this. And I'm about to read this to y'all. Plate equals rubber metal. Right. Right. Okay. And so that's why I want to make sure we're not getting hung up on terms, right? Somebody's saying these not the plates. These can't be the plates. Okay. Clearly we know that the paper is not the actual real life plates. That ain't what we're talking about. But somebody also mentioned that there's a chest with the actual copper plates or metal plates or whatever that the equipment was inside of that machine, that they would have had those plates from that, and it was at the bottom of this chest, right? Now, this alleged chest, I want to say, hold on. I read about a chest somewhere, scrapbook. I'm gonna read this. We'll come back to that. Allegedly, there's a chest where all of this, and Cosma said it was like filled to the top with stuff. I don't doubt that one bit if it was all kept together. But also New Mexico. Remember Shalom happened down there in New Mexico. So now under the name New Mexico State University, all of that stuff from Shalom, interviews, everything that's not published on the web, on the internet, they have there, right? Do they have that said chest? Don't know. Looks like I may be actually taking a trip anyway, right? To get to the bottom of some of this stuff. And I'm gonna have to plan it out because I think I want to go to just more than just the university, right? I don't know. I get this feeling, y'all, and I got the same feeling when I started going through the Bible, right? It's like something just won't let me go about this. It was that same feeling I got as I was waking up from Christianity. It's like this deep gut feeling, Pam, keep going, right? I couldn't put it together yet as I'm fumbling through the information. And then the more I read through the scriptures, I could have just threw it away, but I had like this, I ain't gonna say nagging feeling, but this gut feeling to just keep going, right? As I kept going, I began to notice the inconsistencies in the scripture until I began to hone in on the sacrifices. I'm like, y'all, something ain't right about the sacrifices. Remember, if anybody that was here a couple years ago when we started doing that, you remember me saying every so often when we was reading through the Old Testament, every time we came across the sacrifice, I'm like, y'all, I'm looking into this. Something is not right about these sacrifices and slaughtering these animals with the priesthood, Israel's priesthood. I was like, I don't know what it is, but I said the sacrifices just won't let me go, right? Ema, I think so, right? Ema said it's something they don't want us to know. Now, am I saying that the Lois are hiding something? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, over the course of time, with the information that was available to people at that time, that's what they use to come up with their copies of stuff, right? And a lowest edition at the very beginning of this, in the introduction, they do a very long, and to me it seemed like a thorough introduction of how they came across this. They added some of their stuff in that you see in the lowest edition in the introduction that you don't see in the previous versions, right? But they do let you know that the lowest edition was created from the two previous editions, which were the 1882 and the 1891, right? And all the updates and the footnotes, the all of that stuff comes from those two versions. That's what they said, right? So if everything that's come out, that's been put out, that's been talked about, is coming from these uh first two printed versions, which would be the second and third version. Remember, John Lant, this is the OG, right? This this is the original manuscript, right? We got the original manuscript. We got the 1882 edition and the 1881 edition, right? John Lant looks completely different, right? Hold on, can you see it? John Lant plates. 1882 edition and 1891 edition. First edition, second edition, third edition. But these two have been made to the public. So the 1882 edition looks like the first edition, and they label it the first edition. And the revision after that is the 1891 edition. And everything that they revised was what was in here. Right now, these two consist of everything that was in here, right? So essentially, what we have through all of these printed versions is what you will find in here, but with added stuff that we did not see here, which is we'll call it what some people call the so-called John Lant plates, which that would explain why a bunch of verses are missing when we're doing the line by line comparison. Like, where do these scriptures? Okay, go from verse 2 to verse 7 according to here, because none of this is in the John Lant plates. But if we remember, everything that's in the John Lant plates would be in other editions, but with additions and redactions, right? Remember, John Newbro took it from John Lant. He still got this manuscript, and this is what him and his Masonic brothers, they then took this, and most of what, if not all of what we see in the John Lant plates, we will find in the printed versions that we already have. We just need to do what they said here on the preface that's at the beginning of the John Lant plates. That says, and Cosmon brought it out, and his edition that he has, he pointed out, he took a picture of it and he posted it in the group, and he pointed to the preface, said if you do a line by line comparison, it's the same exact preface that's in the printed version he has, which I believe it was, don't quote me on it, but I think Cosmo has an 1882 edition, at least in that picture. I'm sure he probably has more, but the picture that he showed with the two black books, volume 1 and volume 2, it comes out of that. I looked up the volume, the picture that Cosmon had. I looked for that. That particular reprinting by that printing company was pretty high, right? So a whole lot higher than what I paid for a WASPy. But I figured, you know what? I'm only trying to research. I gotta have it. So I paid the money. There was one left of that. It was about at $300. I got that just so I could do the comparison with this, right? Now I'm not sure if that version is online. I want to say, don't quote me, but it was a couple versions that I saw online that I was trying to do a bunch of notes. I don't have everything and all the links. I got them up, but I'm gonna have to kind of just go back and put everything in order. But these main points I definitely wanted to bring out. So what he had at the beginning of his OWASP, the broken up volume 1 and volume 2, he's right. That's what I'm trying to find. That is in the preface of the so-called John Lant plates. What did I do with it? It's right here in my face. Okay. Where it's the preface to the second edition, right? It is. It's word for word. Now, why would that, if this, what we got, the PDF that I shared with everybody, if this is actually the original manuscript, why would the preface to the second edition be attached to the John Lant plates? Doesn't make sense. So I went back and I'm looking at the preface to the second edition, and I'm looking at the pages of the preface of the second edition, the first 3 pages of the document versus the rest of the pages of that document that's the so-called John Lant plates. And I noticed the age of the paper. It looks like, now it could just be the couple top pages because it's so old, it's just kind of, it's a little tattered around the side, but they seem to be more tattered than all of the rest of the book that's scanned in PDF, like it comes from a separate document, right? And if the John Lant plates have never been printed from the first version version 1, 18, what my paper? 1881 edition is where this preface began, right? If this 1882 edition is where this preface, second edition, I'm sorry, preface to the second edition, which would actually be the 1891. I'm sorry. This would be, let's see, which would be 18, put up here, 1891. This preface that I'm reading that has a careful examination of the original manuscript by a patient and careful reader has proved the original to be uniform and without contradictory assertions from beginning to end. If this is where this was originally created and put there, when they came across the actual manuscript with the handwritten notes that goes all the way through this, it would make sense that when they do a reprint with all the additions and stuff, they would take the preface from the second edition, which is actually the third edition, and they would pair it with the original manuscript that never had this, right? So I'm like, okay, that could have happened, right? Which would explain the tattering of the pages from the first three with this edition versus these right here. Now, I'm going through this, trying to make sense of everything, right? I'm like, okay. So with that being said, right, it makes sense to me, right? Let's, I told you I was up to 3 o'clock. I'm like, Father, something ain't right. I'm missing something. Listen. So now that would explain, if that's the case, I'm not saying it is, but at this point, that's what I've come up with, looking at the tattering of the pages, the ages of the document from what I could see, right? That would explain why this, which Cosmon posted in that picture in the group, that this comes from his 18, was it, I'm not sure, 1882, he either had, let's see, the first or the second edition, I don't remember, but I ordered it. It comes from the second edition, right? That would explain why this is on top of this, which is throwing some people off when they pair them together. This, the original manuscript from John Lant, allegedly was found by somebody, was it, could have been Wing Anderson. Like I said, I'm gonna read that link that I just posted, right? By Wing Anderson. This could have, after John Lant passed away, right? After John Lant passed away, his printing press, it could have been, we don't know for certain, right? Hold on, receive. This is where it becomes kind of confusing that I still haven't figured out yet. And you'll see, because we're about to read this here in a second. I just want to make comments. So that's what explains why this preface would be on the original manuscript, right? Somebody's paired together in time down the road, not thinking about this. And somebody's like, well, no, because they're saying the same thing. But if we go back to what it says, line by line comparison, if they acquired John Lant's proof sheets and they put the preface up here and they say a careful comparison will indeed let you know that what you have in your hand is the original manuscript. I would say original manuscript with the additions and deletions of the last two editions of the 1882 and the 1891, right? So we've had it all along. We just didn't have it in its unadulterated form, which is what we have here, which we can tell that this is a original, the typing from John Newbrough with all his markings and all the Xing out. Remember all that stuff we was talking about as we was going through here, but that will also explain why there's a whole bunch missing from this document while we're doing the line by line comparison from the lowest edition, right? And I'm almost certain that it's the same case with the edition that Cosmon has that he posted with the black books, because I was able to look inside of it a little bit. Did I? Hold on. I was able to look inside his version a little bit. But I opened it up. And I went to the Book of Apollo where we're at, to the place where we notice a few verses were missing between verse 2 and verse 7. It goes to verse 2. It finishes verse 2 and taking off the last portion of verse 2 and then added all this, I would call it embellishment in. And then the John LANT plate seems to go from verse 2 to verse 7, to where in the lowest edition, in the lowest printed edition, and the edition that Cosmon had, it's the same thing. I was able to pull it up online, look at the PDF, and I followed along just like I did with the printed PDF John LANT plates, and it's the same editions there, right? It has all that extra stuff added in, which would be an indicator if they have not saying that they haven't, but just me doing line by line, which is why it's important that we do line by line, because if we don't know something has been squeezed in between this verse and this verse, because just looking at it face value, it looks like the same exact document. It's like, and this is why I'm thinking that some people are saying that they don't believe that this is the John LANT plates, what I shared with them, because it looks the same exact, but it's not. It is not the same exact document. Yes, everything that's in the John LANT plates is in these other printed documents, give or take a few words and stuff like that. But it's a whole lot smaller than all these other printed editions. And this original manuscript that people are calling the so-called John LANT plates, which I'm still thinking, I'm still thinking that this is the John LANT plates, right? It doesn't have all the extra stuff in it, right? So that would make you think, what is this? If everything was created and built off of this, John Newbro came and took it back from John LANT. Hey, Masonic friends, new printers. And it tells you that it was the very first edition, which was the second edition. They were created from a completely different set of electrotypes, right? So they would have had the chance to add in the additions and redactions that John Newbro made once he took it back from John LANT, and him and his Masonic buddies and friends and whoever he was with when they did all these updates. They took that and they gave it to the new printer, which created a new set of plates, and they began printing from there. But everything printed from this is, what can I say? Everything that has been printed, reprinted, and edited still comes from the additions and redactions that John Newbro did. This John LANT has still been untouched. He has the original of everything without all the extra, we'll call it fluff, added to it, which explains why there's a bunch of sentences and verses missing from what we're reading while we're doing a line-by-line comparison, right? Because there's not too many additions and deletions that are different between the lowest edition, the 1882 and the 1891, from all of the different points that I was able to check, right? Just kind of doing like a sampling of different random places. What does it say here? Open up these. What does it say here? What does it say here? Line by line. Oh, they have this. They changed the S here, and I found a couple other places where the S makes a whole heck of a lot of difference, especially in the book of S, during the in a chapter about Abraham Lincoln. Oh, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And this is why I was amped last night and I couldn't go to sleep. Something is not letting me go about this. So I'm just like, and Jamil, you mentioned, she was like, sis, you think you might want to, everything you get, you might want to do it in private, like not doing it live, until you get through everything, just because like all the kickback, a lot of different people just kind of jumping in. I don't think that's it. Different people, not saying that they're wrong. They should be asking questions and they should be doing their comparison, right? They should be. I'm really interested in what other people are saying about this and their comparisons and what they're finding, right? I thought about that. And when you asked me that yesterday, I was already talking to my husband about this. And I was like, babe, what I should have did was not said nothing to anybody. And I should have just did this the line by line comparison like I always do, and just kind of go through everything because it's like I'm getting a lot of kickback. Not that I'm getting kickback, not that people are being vicious, right? But I think it's needful, at least I think it's needful for me that it happened this way, because the things that caused my board out, it made me think about certain things to where I may not have thought about, because they've been in this with a Waspy, him, Selah, a couple other brothers, Cosmon, and a few other gentlemen. They've been in this way longer than I have, so they have some different insights from what I would have. I'm just a little over 6 months in, even hearing about a Waspy, right? So their insights, they would have more information, and I thought it was valuable. So everything that Cosmon said, I looked into. I'm like, okay, well, okay, oh, well, that makes sense. But this is still not answering this question here. And what about this, right? So I think it's needful that I brought it out the way that I did, sharing it, because I'm just trying to get to the bottom of everything. I ain't had nothing, right? And then I was like, I don't really think it'd be fair if I just went quiet on everybody now, because I kind of need y'all feedback to make sure I'm looking at stuff just like y'all are looking through things, right? We don't want to completely just exit out, and I don't want to just just push everything in the trash. A table, a box of important stuff, a shelf, and a trash can, because I got frustrated for a moment. And I told my husband, I said, I should have just not said anything to anybody and just did my own research and stuff. He said, well, maybe. He said, but look at it from the other perspective. Has the feedback you've been getting, has it been helping you? I said, well, yeah. He said, well, it probably needed to happen this way. So I'm like, well, okay. I was like, well, I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to let them know I was about to go quiet on everybody. And so when you said that, Jamil, I was like, maybe that's confirmation I should go quiet. But it's helped me be able to look with more detail into some of these other things that I was coming across last night, right? So I'm like, okay, hold on. Okay, so let me pause. I've been talking. Y'all been saying some stuff. I might have missed something. Let me go back. Where we at? Who's 8:14? I'm going to read this. I've been saying I'm going to read this. A couple things I want to read to y'all. Hold on. Go all the way back up. Okay. Set Apart said something they don't want us to know. It go back to the beginning. Say loud. Shalom, brother. What's up? What's up? Peace, family. Okay. Cosma also said there are entire books missing. True. There are entire books missing, because remember, while they were in Shalom, John Newbro was still creating books. Now, was he at that time under the line of light of the same angel crew that helped him pen or type Owaspy, the original manuscript that he gave to John Lant? I don't know. I really don't know. But I know it's some things that's in the Apocrypha, the Owaspy Apocrypha, that hasn't been added. There are some things that's mentioned, like I got some other notes. Let's do it. I think I left a page of notes that I was writing on upstairs. What is it? The Book of Aranothan, and it's in the appendix. Oh, well, maybe that's why I saw. Hold on. In the appendix. In Big Blue, the Book of Knowledge and the Book of Aranothan, right? In here, okay, if you go to page 747 of Big Blue in the appendix, right? It kind of explains something about the last two books. Let me read it real quick. The two apocryphal books in this appendix did not appear in any edition of Owaspy, right? The printed versions that they have, and neither could I find it in what I had of the John Lant plates. Now, when John Newbro gave the manuscript to John Lant, I'm not 100% sure. Wait, No, I just thought about something. Listen, what I was about to say. I, what I was about to say was, I'm not sure if if John Newbro had finished typing out Owaspy before he gave it to John Land. But if we go all the way back to the beginning, that's what I was about to say. When I was about to say it, a thought hit me. I know I'm going back and forth, y'all. Listen, I'm trying to stay on task with it as it's like coming to me. Okay, so at the beginning, in the introduction of Big Blue, I think it was here in this letter that John Newbro himself wrote. Yours truly, John B. Newbro, on page, it's the Roman numeral XVII, which will be page 17. It begins on page 17 and it ends on page 18. Roman numeral XVII. He said, this accidentally, hold on. Printing every morning, sunrise. Okay, where's the first part? They told me. Okay, so what I'm trying to find is what John Newbro himself said. He said that when he was typing, right, as every morning he got up, and I'm gonna read it. Every morning he got up while he was typing, the angels who were helping him type this told him not to read the manuscript until it was completely done, right? So, and down here on page 18, in Roman numeral XVIII, the third paragraph from the bottom, he says, and it's quoted, for 50 weeks, this continued every morning, half an hour or so before sunrise, and then it ceased. And I was told to read and publish the book Owaspy. The peculiar drawings in Owaspy were made with pencil in the same way. A few of the drawings I was told to copy from other books, such as Saturn, the Egyptian ceremonies, etc. Now, hold on. I'm firmly not that. I'm trying to find where he said that he was told not to read it. Boom, there you go. Listen, it's in the second big paragraph on the same page 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like the 11th line at the middle, it says, I was told not to read what was printed, and I had worked myself into such a religious fear of losing this new power that I obeyed reverently. Now, so when that thought hit me when I was about to say this, I'm like, no, that's not the case. According to him, what we get in his own words, quoted by John Newbro from this letter that he hand wrote himself. Hey, baby. Hey. John Newbro said from his own mouth, according to this letter that's in here, he was told not to read what he was typing out until he got done. And when he got done, he was told to read it and publish it. By him going to John Lant, that whole letter that he said gives me the indication that when he handed it to John Lant, it was in its completed form from the overshadowing of the angels who helped him type it out. So what what John Lant had would have been the original completed copy, right? Did that sound off to y'all? I'm just using what's here, right? I can't be biased with it. That Dawn, it sounds right. Okay. So what John Lant would have had would have been the original overshadowing with all the everything in it, right? When John Newbro came back and got that and started adding all this stuff in, that's where you would have gotten the apocryphal books, all this other stuff. They said, well, it wasn't a part of the original. Of course it wasn't. right? By him, the very act of him, remember, because it said when he heard not to read it until he was completely done, that he followed it with religious fear, for fear that what was happening to him would stop. Those are John Newbro's very own words in that letter that he wrote. So he didn't read it until after he was completely done, right? By being done is an indication. Him reading it is an indication that he was done, right? He was done. He gave it to his friend, John Lant. This is what we have, which explains all the missing stuff, all the things that we see added in these next editions to follow, lets us know that everything else that has been added by man and not the overshadowing of the original event, right? So that's why I'm still saying I think what we have in PDF form is the original John Lant plates. But the preface that has been added to it over the years, remember, because nobody had access to it until after John Lant passed away. By the time John Lant passed away, we've already got the publications of the 1882 edition, its additions and redactions, and the adjustment of that, which would be the 1891 edition, right? And so all of this was being made while John Lant was still alive with his faithful printing press with the originals, right? Right? After he died, people who were involved with the additions and redactions of everything else since then, they got a hold of this, right? And when they got a hold of this, of course, they did their little comparisons, and they slapped that second edition preface on top of that, which is why when New Mexico got it, the book that they showed me, the picture that they took of it, and why the first 3 pages, which is the preface, look like it's a whole different document, right? Compared to the rest of the pages that begins the actual overshadowing, the meat, the everything of Owaski. It looks completely separate. The printing, the edges, it looks completely separate from what is to follow, starting on page 4 of that PDF document. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm on to something here, right? So we got, I ain't gonna call them imposters. What? Oh, I'm about to blame you, little girl. I'm like, what you do with my 1891 edition? We got the original overshadowing, which John Lant had, undefiled. Like, this is the messenger of the truth right here, right? And it doesn't have all the manipulations and molestations of the years to follow. Yes. You want to eat? Go tell your daddy. Malachi, shalom. Listen. So, John Lant plates. And I'm about to. I said I was about to read a couple different things, but I'm trying to keep it all in order, y'all, because it's like it be going around in my head. I'm just, sometimes I can't get out my mouth fast enough. I be trying to put it in order where it's understandable. Okay, so sometimes I got to use like these little things. Like, look, we got to use props. That's how I keep myself straight. Listen, John Lant plates, unadulterated, right here. Nobody's touched that. This was even before John Newbro started talking to other people that let's bring in some of this. Oh, you know what? We can add this. When we put it out, he didn't have time. He's from under that line of light. The anointing has lifted, and now other people can get in his ear. But remember, by him, the very fact that he took it here lets us know that the overshadowing was complete. It was done. Finished fashion. John Lant got it, right? Everything else that comes after that, what doesn't match up with this, I'm not going to say it's a lie, because it contains what's in here. All the other editions contain what's in the John Lant plates, but with all the extra addings, additions, deletions, all this other stuff, and explains why this is so thin. We got the scholars coming in. They peer reviewing what John Newbro did, you know, and John Newbro wasn't a dumb man. He was a very well-learned man, right? But the peer pressure and the peer reviews got the best of him, right? You being looked at as this somebody that's on a pedestal. You think you still got it. Anybody who's ever been under the anointing, or we'll call it the anointing of creator, higher power, anybody in his line of light, you can tell Dana, Wakanda forever. Listen, and I'm gonna bring out something about this and why I think all of this is happening now. And I ain't gonna say just because of me. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. But I'm gonna bring out a point about this, which is why I brought up Lincoln and Gautama, right? But it's really interesting, all these pieces. Okay. So I think I was pretty much done with that's what I was about to say. If anybody's ever under the anointing, when that you can tell they're too, listen, okay, this is what they look like under the anointing. That's what they look like. They operate and it's like they flow in it. But when the anointing lifts, you get all this. They still pretty and they're colorful. It's like, oh, can I get one of them? Right? They're still pretty colorful and they can still write. But there's a certain thing that this now lacks, that this has. Like this Black Panther literally can save the world, right? This will help us get us there, but not quite push us over the edge, because we're still kind of like lacking the power of the Black Panther, which is why everybody else did what they could do. And then Black Panther showed up. There you go, my G. Right? He sprinkled that little bit on them. I think that's what it is with the John LANT plates, right? The thinner edition that doesn't have all the extra fluff and stuff added to it, right? Okay. So with that being said, hold on. Let me go back. Hold on. Let me make sure I didn't miss something. Okay, I'm gonna hold this point, and I gotta read two things. Hold on. Yes, baby. I want apples. You want apples? Did you tell your daddy? Yes. That's not apple, baby. That's potatoes. Go tell your daddy. Go tell your daddy to wake up. Hold on. Hold on. 18. Not sure. Hold on, y'all. Okay, I'm trying to keep in the order. Okay. Okay, so Ema said there's something they don't want us to know. It goes back to the beginning. Cosma also said their entire book's missing. Okay, that's what we started talking about, all this, the apocryphal and all of that, and remembering what John Newbro himself said about being able to print this. When the anointing was on him, we'll call it the anointing. When that was on him, or the angels, the line of light was on him, they told him not to read what he was typing every morning. And this went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. So he doing all this typing. When he done, after 30 minutes, he don't read it. He just close it, put it away, right? He said he followed what he felt, what he heard. Don't read it, because he had fear that if he disobeyed that the whole overshadowing portion would stop. And this wasn't the first time he'd been overshadowed. He grew up in spirituality, so he knew how to operate in it really good. Right? So once it got done, that's when he read it. And they said, when you're done, when we're done, read it all, then take it to a printer to be printed. And he followed that to the T. He got done with the overshadowing. When it was done, he read through it. He was wild himself. He took it to John LANT. John LANT was super excited. Buddy, yes, I'm going to print this thing, right? He had it. It was done. What John LANT had, it was completely done. Everything else from that point has been additions and suspect. Not what we're reading. Now that we're bringing out the truth, or we're pointing out little things, it looked like we don't have it all. And I'm not saying I have all the pieces, but I'm bringing out some points that nobody's really talking about, or paying attention to some of the details, and by getting this, just looking at the documents and different things, the tatterings of the pages, it makes you ask more questions, which is good. Okay. So the books that are missing, and people are thinking are a part of the actual John LANT plates, I am confident to say they were not. All because of what John Newbro, I'm going to keep reiterating this. By the time John LANT got it, the very first printer, which was never printed for public, it was already done. That was that's all you needed right there. Go print and publish that, right? So let's remember that. Okay. I think the Freemasons had slipped in some of their rights in Owaspy. They absolutely did. We talked about that the other day, right? I got a Freemason book with some of the rites and ceremonies in it, and some of it is almost like verbatim in the Owaspy, especially in the book of Sapphire. Yes, baby. Huh? What? Kara, I don't know what you said. Okay. Then Jamil said, absolutely set apart. If you're going to put out a book of truth, put out the whole truth. Stop hiding things. They've been hiding, missing books from the beginning. It's disgusting. I agree with that, right? But I think everything that they say is missing from Owaspy is not actually missing. They've actually added this stuff from the time the original document. So everything other than what we find here, what we have in the John Lant plates, has been additions. Now, are they bad? Not necessarily. Some good stuff in there. It really is, right? It could have been the same. It could have been the same line of angels. It could have been different ones. We don't know, but we know what was to be printed and distributed to the masses. John Lant had, right? And that was verified through John Newbro himself with his letter about what happened to him and how it happened and how he reacted to it all. Mom, shalom. That does make sense. Elijah said, hey, stop. You're with that car, y'all. Elijah said, that does make sense. They could be hiding more truth than what's being revealed. Gotta ask, why would they do everything? Gotta ask, why would they do everything they can to keep the majority of information from the phases that's rising up right now? Shouldn't we know word for word exactly what happened? I'm so glad you said that, because that's a point I want to bring out in this portion about the slaves of Guantanamo who were set free, right? Which most of us here, if you're here in Guantanamo or in North America, we are descendants from those people, right? Y'all. Oh, the rabbit hole gets deep. Listen. There's a couple words in there. Hold on, I'm trying to just keep all this together so I can okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm writing it down. Words. Okay. All right. So, but we're gonna come back to that in a second. Yes, may the Creator reveal all truth. Hebrew, that's true. Racism, yeah, they exclude a lot, and that's all. That's that point. Racism. There is a point in that section where it specifically talks about the races of people, and we read it. I remember reading it, but it seemed like it was saying something else to me last night. Yes, baby. Wait a minute. Okay. So hold on. Let's come back here. Let's slaves. Okay. Y'all comments, y'all bringing up some points that I was gonna get into. Dawn, girl, you better not go quiet. I was thinking about it. Selah said, sad thing, each edition, it's a change. Even the book of knowledge have parts of the book of being in it. And what I was reading, I forget where, it's all in my notes somewhere. They were talking about that, and I think they alluded to that all the way in the back as well, on page 747. Yeah, let me finish reading this because we jumped. Okay, so go back to page 747 in the appendix, right? In big blue. I'm gonna read it over. It's just like that first little half a page. The two apocryphal books in this appendix did not appear in any edition of Owaspy, but most definitely the Book of Knowledge and possibly the Book of Oranathan were taken from printing plates made by printer John Lant. I don't necessarily believe that now, based on some of the other details we're looking at, right? Remember, this is there. When they printed this, it's based on all the information that they had at the time. And hold on. But most definitely the Book of Knowledge and possibly the Book of Oranathan were taken from printing plates made by the printer John Lant in 1881 from the original manuscript of Owaspy. The origin of the Book of Oranathan is more obscure than the Book of Knowledge, for the former might have been written after Nubro arrived at Shalom, not having been a part of the original manuscript at all. For reasons that remain unclear, the Lant plates were never used, and a new set of plates were created for the eventual 1882 edition, which is what they're calling the first edition, right? And so even they said it's still kind of unclear to them why, right? The few LANT plates that survived were in the possession of Justine Newbrough, John Newbrough's daughter, and were copied by E. Wing Anderson, who published the 1935 edition of OWASP, as well as subsequent editions that came to be known as the Blue OWASP. Now, the Blue OWASP, not this one, Big Blue by the Lowest. There's another edition that they call the Blue OWASP, but that is no longer in print. And I was trying to find that. It don't seem to be, ain't nobody doing that, right? As well as subsequent editions that came to be known as the Blue OWASP. But E. Wing Anderson did not include either of these books in any of the editions published. Because the plates were an incomplete set, the Book of Knowledge is also incomplete with an unknown number of missing parts. It is clear, however, that this book was either composed of sections that were edited out of the Book of Being before publication, or both books had been a part of a larger common book. The student will notice that many parts of both books are held in common. The verses that either appear in the Book of Being or had some recognizable variation within the Book of Being were as follows. And it lists the chapters with the verses. I'm not going to read through that for the sake of time. You all got it. If you got a copy of Big Blue, you can go and verify, go back and forth, right? The Book of Aranathan could also be an incomplete fragment. And if it had in fact been a part of the original manuscript, the place in which it would have appeared remains unclear, right? And I think they were not a part of the original manuscript. Keep in mind what John Newbrough said. Once he read it, it was an indication that the original was complete, because he was not to read it, and he followed religiously with fear, not reading what he was typing until he was completely done, right? When you're done, read it, publish it. John LANT is an indication that what he received at the time of receiving was complete, not incomplete, based on what John Newbrough himself has said, right? We got to look at all these little bits and pieces. Yes, girl, you keep tapping me on my leg. What you want? What you want? Okay, I'm not gonna cut that. Let me give you an apple. I guess your daddy's still asleep, huh? Yeah, you want apple? Go ahead. And you better not spit them pills on my floor, little girl. Right? If you want to spit them out, just take them. Come sit them on the table. Right? Okay. All right. This is okay. The Book of Aranathan could also be an incomplete fragment, and if it had in fact been part of the original manuscript, the place in which it would have appeared remains unclear. Finally, it seems that the introduction to the Book of Sapphire, as well as the caption under the plate Tree of Languages, were taken from the LANT plates as well. But the editors chose to place them in the main text of this edition, since they did not appear in E. Wing Anderson's 1935 edition. Now, right here, where it says these plates, finally, it seems that the introduction to the Book of Sapphire, as well as the caption under the plate Tree of Languages, were taken from the LANT plates as well, but the editors chose to place them in the main text of this edition. Now, remember, here's how I understand what they were saying here. Okay, so remember, Shebrew, I just saw your comment. It started 9, right? It started 9, so I'm trying to squeeze this out. Look. Thank you for the reminder, though, sis. Thank you. Look. Remember when we were reading through here, and we were in the portion that it said Anubis? Remember how I said that's in Sapphire? Why did they take the title of Sapphire, the haunted chamber, and put that in the Book of Wars Against, I believe it was the Book of Wars Against Jehovah, right? They put that in, so they took the title from there and they placed it within the body of the text. They say they're not sure why they did that, but they've done that in a couple places, right? So this is what that is referring to. That's why I was like, why is this? I was like, but it's completely different what's under this title, Anubis, the Haunted Chamber, Rites and Ceremonies. I said, now I remember reading this, and directly under that were the degrees of the prophet. And I couldn't find it. That's why I needed y'all help. Y'all said it was found in the Book of Wars Against Jehovah, right? So we went there, boom, lo and behold, that's the degrees. Hold on. Shebrew, you about to tell me to stop and go to class? Hold on. I'm about to answer you, sis. Hey, girl.
You're late. Go to class.
Listen, I just responded. Look, my class actually starts at 9. I appreciate that. I'm trying to squeeze out the last few minutes. Thank you, though. I appreciate you looking out, sis.
Okay.
Thank you, but we're going to end it here in a few minutes. It's 8:42. All right. Okay. Thank you, y'all. And we might have to finish going over the details of this because I didn't read everything. We might have to get to the linking portion tomorrow, but please don't forget about that. We have to look at that. And I think that linking portion, what was changed there, like the little adjustments, it would explain why, at least to me, it would explain why in previous generations of these printings, why they're not catching on to some of the stuff that we're catching on to right now, right? I told y'all 8:45. Listen, okay. So I got this thing about being on time. I be telling my son, y'all done heard my son, you need to be there 15 minutes early. So I probably should take my own advice, right? Be there 15 minutes early because if you on time, you late. 15 minutes early is on time, right? Listen, y'all want to keep me straight. I appreciate that. Yeah, in the book of S, Jamil. So we're gonna probably have to pick that back up. But so like y'all, it's a whole bunch of stuff. So maybe I should pause here and just sit there and wait for the professor to come in. It's so much I'm trying to give y'all all of this. This is why I was like, and I was debating whether we should go live this morning at 6:15. So I know I have a little bit more time to play with. But I was like, I already told them we're gonna keep it at 7:30. I'm gonna just have to make the class really short. So okay, hold on. Let me pause that thought right there. One thing that I did real quick. Hold on. Maybe I should just stop because now I'm thinking about the class. I mean, sitting there 15 minutes. Y'all, I done broke my train of thought. I'm going to stop. We're just going to pick this back up tomorrow. Let's just go. All right. Because I can't, yeah. Let's, yes. Okay, we're going to pause. Okay, I get super excited. Okay. Thank y'all for hanging out. God bless you. Good night. Listen, okay, y'all. We're gonna pause. I gotta pull myself. I'm gonna try and put my notes together to where I can make sure I'm gonna have to make myself an agenda or something to make sure I hit every point, and I'm gonna just like check it off as I go of the different things that I'm bringing out about here. Okay, so I hope it wasn't all over the place today. I hope y'all kind of understood just a little bit. Trina, hey girl, hey, where you been? Look, okay, you got to go back and watch it. I'm not sure how long you've been there. But okay, so tomorrow we may not get to reading any of the John LANT plates either. I just want to really finish going over what I came across yesterday while I was up studying and just picking and pulling through everything. Just thoughts. It's like so many when I was sitting there, I wanted to go into bed, but it was like sometime, and this happens to me when I do the long fast. It's like the information when I fast long, it's like you don't sleep much anyway because you're not processing food in your gut. So all that energy has to go somewhere, right? And you don't need as much sleep. But when that happens, I would say my spiritual insight, it kicks up, and then the dreams are like, I ain't gonna say out of control, but they're like nonstop so much. That I'm like, Father, I'm trying to get some sleep, but I can't sleep because the dreams won't stop. And I hear all of this, I'm not gonna say chatter because I'm able to decipher what I'm hearing, but it's almost like I can hear like a lot of stuff at one time. and I'm able to keep it in order. Like I said, sometimes it be happening so fast up here that my mouth be trying to catch up and I'll be trying to put it in order. So sometimes, forgive me if I sound all over the place and I'm jumping back and forth, but it's like all of this stuff, I'm learning how to control all of these thoughts and get them down on paper. So it may sound sometimes like I'm rambling. Sometimes I might be, but sometimes I'm trying to bring everything together and put it in a uniform fashion to give to you so it makes sense. Right? Okay. So, but that's what was happening last night. And I'm sitting in the chair at the desk. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay. I wish I could just, and all of it, all what's in my head could just be down on paper, all in order. But it was like, I literally, I had to make myself go to bed last night because all these different points and things that were like sticking out that weren't coming out before. And it was like, okay, tomorrow we probably not gonna read. I probably just got to start telling them some of this stuff, right? Okay, so that's it. I gotta go. Thank y'all for hanging out today. Father, thank you for, what's a word I can use? Uh oh. Mm. Not necessarily, well, yeah, attention to detail, but I've already used that, but the attention to detail to be able, I'm not at this point, I can't say that I'm recalling the facts. I did read it. I think it's, baby, if you don't put that bucket of ice cream back in that freezer, put it back. Put it back. Put it back. I read over it once. But I think because I read over it, if say the Father wants to alert me to something, because I've already read, like, yes, I remember that. Yet to decipher and understand, yes, that's what I'm looking for. Thank you for the ability to decipher and understand. Because I've read it, I'm like, yes, I know what that is, but it's like I'm able to, I don't know. I don't know the word that I'm looking for other than that, but the detail of me going back to his letter, where he said out his own mouth, putting together of what John Lant had is like the indication that what he had was complete and that was supposed to have been published and everything. Like all of those little details I didn't get before. It's just like everything is just pay attention to the detail. Go back. I gotta go back. Right. All right. That's it. I'm done. I'm rambling. I gotta go, y'all. Mom. Everybody is trying to get ice cream. Put it back. Close my refrigerator. All right, y'all. That's it. Everybody that I missed that came in, thanks for hanging out. I love y'all. You might have to go back and rewatch this to get everything if you came in late, because we're gonna pick back up with this same stuff in the morning. I may just kind of quickly go back over a few points, but I'm gonna try to get the rest of all of this that I got now out to you to help it make sense, right? Because I don't want to turn anybody away from reading through this. It's just a lot of things have been jumbled through time that we got to unjumble. We got to straighten out some of these crooked roads, right? Which is a big portion of what I wanted to read in the portion that we will read from the book of S tomorrow, about what's going to happen in the Cosmon era. Like we're actually doing what it says is going to happen, and there would be like it's coming back to it's going to be that face-to-face interaction with our brothers and sisters who are already fully spirit, right? That the whole cycle. Not Gigi, she's saying Cookie. It sounds like Gigi because she don't pronounce it right. That's what my grandbabies call me. They call me Cookie. So she said Cookie, not Gigi. Gigi is my baby sister. All us got cute grandma names. Grandma just sounds too old. I ain't gonna say that, but we all that's just like a thing in my family. Yeah, that's what she was saying. She was saying Cookie. So all right, y'all. That's it. Let me go. I love y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace. Tootie? Nope. I don't want you to touch this because I got to look over some of my other notes. Bye, y'all.